Alright, good morning everyone. Okay, this is Mr. Fazal over here. So I've been check and also evaluate all of your process of development and understanding by working with the second exercise that we did last week. So you guys will be given basically 5 or 6 different kind of founding object that you guys can actually develop them back and create into one of the imaginations kind of compositions that based on the sceneries, landscapes, cityscapes, or anything that you can actually develop from there. So one of the reason I'm giving you guys this kind of what we call that uh, exercise, because I really want to develop I really want to have a very clear kind of ideas, where basically you guys can go from here there, right? Okay, I've been looking at your results, based on this exercise. I found out, some of you guys, most of you guys have the good kind of understanding how to develop your imaginations, during the process of working. All right, but other than that, as I told you guys before, if I'm not mistaken there, right? I'm not looking for someone who actually can draw well, that we can actually move into our next sessions of our modules there, in from development of this kind of what we call the environment kind of design concept, kind of what we call that subjects. So but I'm here, so I'll have to make sure that everyone can develop their kind of understanding on working with their own kind of drawing skills when they want to develop their kind of understanding when it comes to work and design and create a very appealing approach of the environment concept, maybe for the animation or the game, after that, right? And for this week I have decided I'm going to have one of the exercise that everyone need to develop their kind of what we call that understanding by detailing from the drawing design that first there, right? So I want you guys to develop those kind of understanding, and also I want to see whether you guys can control your kind of drawing skills quite well, to develop your understanding in detailing the subjects there, right? So I'm going to give you guys a few kind of reference sample that we can use to draw back again, not just to trace but draw back again those subject matters in details, but using only drawings kind of methods there first, because this is the important thing about visualizations in environment concept there, right? Even though nowadays we can actually develop this kind of understanding by working with a very rough kind of concept of landscape for the games, and also develop some sort of scenario scenes there, right? And also the look and feels there, the shots and angles there, all right, for this landscape there, for environment there, but every part of detailings, elements that you have to draw or sketch, right, based on your ideas, that there has to be clear enough for your team, for your group of productions to understand, when it comes to develop this kind of what we call the drawings there. It's not only about a concept design, it's not all about a rough kind of concept design there, that we are going to look into. But for last week, basically I just want to give you guys a little bit more freedom that works there in a way to develop your own styles of working there. If you take a look back again on our from your first exercise that we did there, I really impressed based from some of the works that I've seen there, you guys have those kind of level of detail that we need to see and evaluate, whether you guys really understand how it works or not there. So now this is things that we have to work out for this week, by using digital medias there. All right, so if you take a look back again from these drawings here, you can see a lot of details, value of tones there, balance, all right, and also the third rules, of compositions there, okay, rule of thirds there, okay, of the compositions that been created by working with this kind of environments there. All right, you have the focal point there, okay, that emphasize on these illustrations here. All right, and also the value of tones of drawings, the detail, even though this is a rough sketch, right, this is a sketch line there, okay, but every detail that the artists want to provide, okay, information, visual information, okay, for these environments, we can see clearly, okay, from these compositions there, okay, and they have also some balance, okay, and also a low horizontal kind of what we call that perspective line there, okay, that we can actually emphasize more on the heaviness and also attentions, okay, and also what we call that a contrast between a focal point, a main kind of features, okay, for these compositions, and also the background itself, okay, there we can see also some depth of fields on that. All right, so those are the things that we want to take a look into from your skill, okay, for week 3 here there, okay. So I want you guys to practice and to develop, to show basically, okay, what basically you guys can come up with your skill when it comes to design or drawing your sketch line there, right, okay. So when I look at this kind of rough sketch, okay, thumbnails, like, even though when I actually show you guys based on the compositions, okay, from last week, kind of what we call that week 2, kind of what we call the exercise, okay, I give you guys very rough kind of idea how it works there, right, okay. I don't want to show you guys more in details, even though in week 1 there, okay, I already show you guys some of the way of making some imaginations kind of drawings, okay, based on KLCC there, okay, using the what we call that doodle kind of line there, right, okay. But last week I just want to test you guys whether you guys really can work with it or not, right, okay. That's why when I actually saw some of your sketches, some of your environments kind of works, okay, some of you guys really made it good, right, okay. So but when it comes to a few kind of people actually try to work with this with their rough kind of ideas, right, okay, it doesn't mean rough that people can't see the detail of your works here, because when it comes to this kind of quality of works, right, okay, if you work individually, maybe okay there, okay, you can actually add some details later on, okay, because I've also done a lot of things like that when it comes to work with time there, right, okay. But when you work with the team members, okay, in the production works, okay, if you don't have any kind of details there, okay, enough kind of details that to works here, when you come up with the final design, for example, okay, maybe this is maybe a rough kind of design based on the concepts kind of works that your friend has done there, okay, but we can't see any kind of focal point, any kind of details there, okay, only a few suggestions of colors that make a contrast between the locations there, okay, but there is no depth of fields from there, okay, there is no much kind of detail in there, but don't worry, okay, we're going to grow through from there, okay, how to work with those kind of detailing, okay. I'm going to use some sort of textures that work also by the same time there, okay. So but some of you guys have the level kind of understanding, but just need a little bit more kind of what we call that sensitivities, right, okay, on the concern on the some of the detailing, some of shadowing techniques, okay, those kind of things can be improved from time to time, right, okay. But I really satisfied with most of your submission, okay, for last week, okay, even though this one also a very good kind of compositions here, right, okay, just a little bit more some detailing maybe, right, okay, maybe the sky is a little bit more cloud, a little bit more like a sketch kind of line there, okay. Maybe the person who actually designed them want to have a very what we call that similar kind of concept between the shape square, kind of what we call that styles, okay, between the ground, the element from the foreground, and also the sky. But we can actually add a little bit more on the detail and improvise from here there, okay. So but this is a very good kind of what we call that compositions, the choice of what we call that space colors there, okay. So keep it up there, right. Even though okay, this one also, okay, I've been actually, right, okay, comment on it our Google Classroom, right, if you can add some foreground detail a little bit, right, okay, even though this is a focal point, right, okay, but this is a good kind of what we call that compositions that can play with some of the textures there, right? Okay, play with some of the textures kind of works there, right? Okay, very heavy focal point there, okay, is a very good kind of what we call an understanding there. All right, but sometimes, right, okay, we can actually add a little bit more kind of what we call that elements that can support basically these compositions really well right now. All right, so if you take a look at this one, right, okay, there's a few kind of good kind of compositions, right? Focal point there, right, okay, even though they use some sort of center point for the what we call that compositions over here, we can see some tension, some mood over from this design there, right, okay, but some of the detailings maybe we can actually improvise later there. So now let's go into our purpose of working there. Okay, I'm going to give you guys at least for this week a few kind of reference here. All right, especially in from Angkor Wat kind of concept, what we call that photos reference, and also a few kind of reference from some of the environments, landscape there, right, okay, that I want to give you guys a little bit kind of what we call that feelings of detailings that you guys can work from here. All right, so the size of our presentations we can maintain around A4 size. All right, 150 dpi, or maybe you can go beyond that, right? Okay, 250 300 dpi there. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to make a gradient maps. So that means we are going to work with grayscale, black and white back again there, right? Okay, if you take a look at these photos, right, okay, there has a focal point there, right? Okay, there is a, they use a center kind of what we call that point for these images there, right? Okay, a very balanced there, right? Okay, they use a very like a curved line that actually emphasize more on the what we call that tensions for these locations there, right? Okay, if you find a photo, okay, one of the reason I want to find these photos, I find these photos for you guys because I want to give you guys a little bit more kind of what we call that challenge of understanding by working with the detailings there. All right, so let me set a little bit set up a little bit more on my drawings here. Okay, right, we have basically, right, okay, one perspective kind of what we call that environments here, okay, that we use, okay, for our references there. So you guys can choose from my reference here. You have to choose from my reference, okay, of photos, okay, for this week. So that means we can draw back again. We're not just tracing them, but we're going to draw back again using the brush tools, okay, from this what we call that Photoshop kind of tools over here. And I want to see how far you can go from there, okay, because we have a few kind of methods of tactics that I actually apply when it comes to draw and design the works there, okay. So right now I'm using a very what we call that all media wet flow brush. If you use Photoshop or iPad, okay, you can use your own kind of brushes that you work, but from Photoshop CC or the new versions, right, if I'm not mistaken, we have this Cairo Ultimate pencils there kind of brush. All right, so you can use also these ultimate pencils or ultimate brushes, okay, any kind of brushes that actually suitable with these drawing methods that we can apply from this exercise here. So the exercise are going to be around 4 different kind of what we call that pictures. All right, 4, number 4 there, right, okay, only 4 quantity that I want you guys to develop those what we call that understanding and drawings there, the compositions skills to add some detailing there, right, okay, those are the things there. So if you take a look at how actually I draw what we call that the trees over here, I'm use a very zigzag and also doodle kind of line that to works that fits to add these kind of details there. Even though you can use any kind of painted kind of styles that to works there, okay, but I want you guys to adapt back again how basically you guys will draw, right, by using digital medias, but we're applying a charcoal's kind of methods of working, right, okay. This is one of the way for those who have a very lack of what we call that understanding in working with what we call the in detailings, right, especially your drawings methods there, okay. This is one of the way that we actually can apply right back again our understanding by using digital tools, right, okay. So I've been trained a lot of people actually who can't draw there, okay, or maybe have the very weak or lack kind of understanding on drawing skills there, okay, to work with this kind of methods of working there, okay, by controlling the strokes and line at the same times. And also you can add some shadings lines over here there, okay, shadings lines over here, right. Those are the things that I want you guys to work with it there, right, okay. This is one of the way that to works there, not the only way, but the one of the way that you guys can improvise. You can improve more on your detailing there, right, okay, improve more on your detailings, your kind of understanding, and your what we call that kind of what we call that perceptions, and also sensitivity when it comes to draw back again the elements of nature's right, and you draw those environments later on there, right. So now if I draw basically the branch of this tree there, okay, in traditional medias there, okay, normally we are going to draw like this one there, right, okay. We are going to move our hands like this, flows of our hand there. So I want you guys to apply back again what you guys have learned before, all right, in your fundamentals subjects, okay, your foundation or your fundamental subjects there. I want you guys to have this kind of sketch line back again there, right, okay, because after this when you want to draw any kind of thumbnails there, okay, for our what we call that assignments and subjects there, I want you guys to work with this kind of styles there, okay, of workings there, all right. And of course, okay, some people say that, okay, oh, Mr. Fazal, normally, right, okay, this is from my previous student, right, okay, what I have the what we call that some sort of what we call that complaint there. So they say that, okay, I always ask people to do exactly what I say, okay, the styles that I produce there, okay. And remember guys, okay, this is not my styles of working there, okay, but this is something that actually we can actually educate people back again how it works there, how to draw in the right way there, okay, controlling the flow, basically controlling the flow, the structures there, understand basically the structures line over here there, okay, before we're going to draw some of the imagination and drawings there, okay. When you start to draw something like this, right, always recall back again, also train your mind, all right, train your mind to develop your kind of understanding there. We are not just tracing them, right, we're not actually just trace the pictures there, okay, but we improvise using the understanding of drawing strokes that we actually apply from here, okay. You can draw as detailed as you can, right, okay. If you want to add a little bit kind of what we call that some cross etching kind of line, you guys can do so there, okay, for this kind of what we call that exercise over here, all right. If we take a look, right, okay, these kind of drawings there, the quality of all the drawings when we close the pictures there, they're going to be a little bit more like this one there, right, okay. So this is a part of the exercise that I want you guys to work with it, right, okay, before basically we are going to go through, okay, with more kind of challenging, right, kind of what we call that tasks and also exercise, all right, more towards into our assignments, okay, later on there, right, okay. So without this kind of what we call knowledge of understandings of controlling your own kind of stroke and skills there, okay, whatever that you guys going to design later on, okay, they are not going to be as much details that we want, okay, to see, okay, okay, to develop basically our value of understanding when it comes to draw the shapes or draw basically the structures there, okay, from your own kind of design styles there, all right. So it's going to be look a little bit more like it's going to be look a bit more like it's quite kind of rigid there, okay, to work with it. All right, if you go back into a lot of drawings, okay, outside there that actually have the visual kind of informations on the work itself, there, okay, visual kind of informations. We're not talking about the verbal informations, okay, we're talking about the visual kind of understanding over here, right? So they have a very clear ideas, okay, what basically the subject that they've been drawn there, okay, to make a very clear kind of understanding from here. Because when you work with this with a lot of productions, right, okay, if you give a very rough kind of ideas there, okay, without having kind of skills to develop a detailed kind of understanding, okay, most of the peoples in the productions can't actually translate back again your ideas of design, all right, into a product that they're going to be models, or maybe going to be construct back again into the background design for animations, or any kind of what we call that modelings, kind of what we call that elements, okay, that they were going to construct later on there, okay. So those other things are going to be a little bit more like hairwired for the production itself, because concept artists, background artists basically is hard for the productions works there, right, okay, is hard for the productions works there. So whatever that we design has to be very clear, okay, for people to understand, right, okay, because this is not a very rough kind of ideas that we're going to take a look. Okay, we have to transfer all these kind of elements of detailings, okay, later on for our teams to work with it back again, okay. So what I want you guys to work, okay, for this exercise is how actually you're going to construct the tones of values from the visual that you draw back again from these photos there, okay, from the photos that I'm going to give you guys, okay, to works there. So I want to see how far you guys can work with your drawings first, and then we can actually enhance back again the visuals using the shapes of tone of colors there, right? Because if you have a very detailed kind of drawings that you can show your productions there, okay, works there. So the colors, combinations of the colors are going to be not that quite hard there, okay, for us to combine together to create a form and detailing back again. All right, so I believe that most of you guys, okay, I've seen some of the works like Felicia, all right, Aaron there, okay, Enos there, they have this kind of understanding there, okay, even though Zoe there, right, okay, have this kind of good understanding there. So you guys also can learn also from your friends, okay, when it comes to work with this kind of what we call that drawings there, okay. I'm not saying that you have to trace the whole thing like this, okay, like a doodle kind of line there. I don't want to see this kind of line of drawings here, all right. This is not the way that we are going to draw there, right, okay. For the rest of you guys, okay, who say we are just tracing them, this is not the one there, okay. We actually redesign them back there, okay. We improvise the thing that we've seen, we stylize the thing that we see, but they still look a little bit more into details there, all right, into details there, okay. All right, all the etchings kind of drawings, line techniques, okay, cross etching, okay, line drawings there, okay, shadings, kind of shades drawings there, techniques you guys can apply, okay, from this exercise here. All right, if you take a look at how I control basically most of my lines over here there, okay, I'm using those kind of what we call that drawings kind of methods there, okay, techniques there, okay, to emphasize, to visualize back again the visuals here. All right, how actually you're going to construct basically those kind of details without having a lot of what we call that line there, okay. We use a very suggestions line for these structures there. Those are the things that I want to see from your drawings here today. All right, I guess this is not a finished kind of drawings here there, okay. It's not finished yet, alright, okay, but at least we can see how far we can go from here there, okay. The good thing about our online class, okay, this semesters, you're not going to work with the traditional medias, right, okay. We don't have this kind of what we call that live sessions kind of drawings, okay. but I really love to do this kind of what we call live sessions drawing using charcoals, okay, with you guys there, okay, to develop back again your understanding how it works there. But we don't have this kind of what we call that sessions here, so that means we have to improvise a little bit, basically back again to enhance your understanding before we're going to use a lot of color combinations, okay, techniques, okay, for our works here. All right, so before we are going to do some simply stylizations, okay, on the environments background itself there, right, okay, that I always love to do there, okay, for my works there, okay. Even though this is one of the core kind of what we call that exercise understanding to develop your understanding, your student understanding, even though I'm also been practicing by myself there, okay. So we are going to go into more simplifications, okay, stylizations kind of concept design there, okay, after this there, okay, based on some of the themes that I already planned for you there, okay, to work there. But before we go through with that kind of what we call that kind of way of working, so I want you guys to work with this kind of methods there first. Okay, this is one more thing, okay, about digital medias there, okay. Other than I'm using a drawing methods that works, I can also use paint kind of works there, but right now I'm using lasso tools, right, okay. I believe that some of you guys have worked with this lasso tool before, right. Lasso tools is one of the tools that makes me what we call that is make my kind of works a little bit more quicker directly. So I'm going to select the selections of the shadows areas, okay, using the selections tool for lasso tools over here, okay. But when I actually do this kind of what we call the selections tools, I'm using basically a shadows kind of shapes there, right, okay, that construct basically the selections there. So I'm going to work with this kind of selections using the shadows directly. I'm going to construct using the shadow shapes directly. So this is one of the quickest kind of what we call that methods that I actually use, other than just repaint them back again there, okay, according to the photos there, okay. But working with the trace or with shapes back again, construct back again the shapes, okay, using the methods that I actually use right here there, okay, using alternate to deselection some of the areas. But if you check a look back again how I actually construct the shapes, right, I'm not just simply construct them, but I'm using a very what we call that, I'm going to select, right, some sort of detailing, okay, just like I'm drawing a map on top this what we call that photos over here, okay. So to add some sort of shadings, kind of what we call that elements, okay, or areas there, in order for me to construct back again the structures there, right, okay. So I just want to make it a little bit more quicker there, right, okay, the process of working over here. So with that main, we can go through with some meetings, okay, our meetings over there, all right, in our team, kind of what we call that made up channels there. So when I do this kind of selections there, click shift, okay, to what we call unselect the selections. I believe you guys understand how it works, right, okay, doing the selections areas. So what I can do right here there, okay, this is not a finished product, right, and I can use different kind of brush that works, okay. Some of the brushes that I use is a rough round bristles. I can actually adjust the flows, and also I can paint it up there, right, okay. So those are the things there, right, okay. I can use also these kind of things there too, adjust the flow a bit, and I'm going to paint it up like that. So this is one of the method we can use, okay, to other than we just use the compositions, select the compositions there, okay, what we call that, select the photos back again and use some textures there, line there, it works there. I believe you guys also have a different kind of way of working over here there, okay, that you guys have been developed from time to time there, okay. But this is one of the quickest way that actually used normally to create some sort of shadows and shades line there, okay. If you check a look back again from my first video, what we got a reviews there, okay, on doing some landscape and trees there, okay, this is the method that I use most basically, right, to draw the shadows and shades there. So I'm going to upload also some of the videos that I did previously there, okay, but no voices there, okay, only a music kind of score there, okay, how actually I create this kind of shapes and shadows there, okay, using the lasso tools that works there, right? Okay, so then you guys can actually try to apply them, or maybe you guys can actually learn to develop understanding right from these methods back again, okay, in order to create a very quick kind of what we call that structures that works there. Okay, so I try to construct also some negative space, okay, from these shapes over here. Then I'm going to paint it up right there. Right, so there's a lot of things that we can actually apply from these methods there. Okay, I'm using very simple methods of workings there. Okay, and I bet, okay, if you really what we call that understand how it works there, if you practice in the right way that you works there, right, so it will give you guys a very good kind of advantage there, okay, to develop your kind of what we call that quick kind of results, okay, when you paint basically some backgrounds, okay, later on there, right. But this is one or two kind of what we call that methods that I can work there, okay, along the way there, okay. But there's a lot of brush tool also can be used, okay, to work with this kind of methods there. So for example, if I add new layers over here, if I want to add some sort of what we call that detailing there, okay, other than using paint or any kind of brushes that we have, because I believe using New Visions kind of, if you use the New Visions Photoshop, right, okay, they have a few kind of cool brushes that you guys can imitate, okay, those kind of textures there. So yeah, it's good for you to have a lot of good features, good kind of what we call that new features, okay, from your applications that works. All right, but for fundamental kind of purpose, normally I'm going to use a very standard kind of brushes there, right, okay. So I'm going to paint like this a little bit there, right, see, but it's not actually finished there, right, okay. This is not finished drawings here, right. There's more we can go from here there, right, okay. If you take a look back again, right, we can go more from here there, right, okay. So that means there's more room for us to add a little bit more kind of what we call that details, understanding there, right, okay. So for me, okay, I'm going to tap a little bit, right, okay. Give a little tap, right, okay, on the shade itself there, right, slowly, right, tap, don't tap too fast, right, don't tap too hard, right, okay, because you're going to what we call that ruin your what we call that pen tablet tip there, right, okay, over here. So what you can do from here, you can see some of the detail here. We can go from here there, right, okay, and you can actually paint basically the background back again, okay, use the flows that works there, right, okay. You can paint it up back again there if you want to there, right, okay. But normally I'm going to use the selections tools that works, right, a little bit more detail for the selection tools. Then I'm going to paint it up back again there, right, for example like this, right. So I believe you guys can go through with this exercise there. You guys can also use wet sponge brushes or soft brushes that works there, right, okay, to make a little bit more soft kind of lines over here, adjust the flow a little bit, or you can adjust the opacity later on there, right, to works there, right, okay. So those are the things that we want to apply, the detailing there, okay. You can go by drawing based from the reference that you have there, okay. I want you guys, okay, everyone there, okay, especially for those who have a lot of lack understanding how to detailing back again your drawing, your sketches, okay. This is one of the good exercise you can enhance back again your understanding there, okay. So those are the things that we can apply, right. About the cloud itself, okay, I'm not saying you just can trace the whole thing back again or copy the whole thing back again there, okay. But if you take a look at closely there, okay, by using, for example, like lasso or selections kind of tools here, for example like this, all right. So what I can do, I can use soft brushes that fits that works there. So I'm going to use airbrush, soft brushes over here, all right. Then I'm going to paint it up like that, all right, okay. and we see a flow of very what we call that, very small minor kind of flows there that works there, right? Okay, so about the cloud itself there, right? Okay, when I take a look at how actually people draw clouds here, so I'm thinking that, right, how if you actually, right, give a little bit more kind of what we call that soft kind of lines, structures there, all right, for the cloud itself there, right? Okay, very soft kind of line that fits there, right? Even though I can see some of you guys can draw clouds a bit more good there, right? Okay, but try to control a bit on the soft line over here there, right? Okay, soft kind of pressures over here, right? Okay, about the cloud itself there, right? For me, I have a few kind of what we call that methods of working with clouds there, okay, but I'm not actually emphasizing a bit more from there, right? Okay, I'm not actually focused on drawing only clouds there, okay, but at least you can actually give a little bit kind of understanding. The clouds have to be look a little bit more like a soft, right? But if you want to work with a very stylized kind of styles of working there, right? Again, for example, there later on you want to work with a very stylized kind of concept of clouds, right? You guys can go ahead there, okay? But at the moment we can give a little bit more like very soft kind of touch there, right? Okay, for the clouds itself there, right? Give a very soft kind of touch there, right? Okay, and to show a bit more kind of depth of field from there. So if you take a look back again here, right, even to show a little bit more depth from there, right? Okay, even though the pictures that have basically the any kind of what we call that distance, okay, from this what we call that locations that we have here there, okay, but you guys can actually use basically your kind of imaginations, okay, back again, all right? When I actually draw something there, okay, I'm not just try to trace them back again, right? Okay, but I try to improvise them, okay, because our ideas of exercise is not only just follows exactly what we want there, okay, but or what we see there, okay, but we can actually improvise from there, right? Okay, for you to work there. All right, what you can do from here. All right, let's just say I'm going to draw a bit, what we call that, some sort of mountains, okay, from far there, right? Okay, copy and paste there. Then I'm going to use erasers a bit, just to erase some of the areas there, right? Okay, using the brushes there, right? Yeah. Distance, right? Some detailings there, right? Okay, to work there. So this week we try to develop a tone of values of understanding, right? Using the brushes, okay, using the drawings methods back again. I want you guys to have the sensitivity of drawing some details there, okay, add some details on your drawings at the first stage there, okay, before we're going to add colors on there, okay. But one of the way that we can apply, okay, if you take a look, right, for these kind of what we call it drawings over here, there's a very good kind of compositions that we have here, but the things that we can improvise were basically how actually you can add a little bit more kind of values of tones, some shadings kind of methods, okay, not very rough kind of methods over here, okay, we're using the drawing line, okay, the value of the quality of line, okay, when it comes to draw, okay, because if you take a look back, and even though this person tried to add a little bit kind of what we call that depths, okay, using the line drawing and strokes there, okay, but most of the strokes there's been a stand out, okay, has a focal doesn't have any focal point there, okay, doesn't have any depth there, okay, on the stroke itself there, okay. So this kind of what we call the understanding there, we have to improvise from here, right? Okay, we can improvise from here there, okay. If I want to actually add a little bit kind of what we call the understanding, how actually we're going to improvise the drawing line and strokes over here, okay, by using the same kind of images there, okay. If I want to draw back again over here, this is what I do, right? I'm going to use all media wet flow brush, right, adjust the flow back again. The size are going to be around 9 point there. All right, so the line drawings or the strokes from the mid-ground basically, even though this element is a part of the main kind of features there, okay, I'm going to give a little bit more kind of lines look like this one there, right? Okay, see, even though basically, right, okay, the shapes of the mushroom itself there, okay, doesn't basically look quite clear there, okay, what kind of shape is it there, okay. If I were you, I'm going to add a little bit kind of suggestions line for the textures there, okay, from here. Right, this one also doesn't look right there, okay, if I follow back again exactly what this person had drawn there, okay, so I have to improvise a little bit here. So what I can do, I will actually improvise a bit there. Same goes to this line over here. Same goes to this one there, right? Very clean kind of line there, right? Okay, first there, very clean kind of line there. Then you can actually add a little bit of some sort of shading suggestions over there. All right, see a different kind of lines. So guys, okay, let's take a look at the meetings there, see what actually we can discuss from there. So hopefully you guys can dig out this kind of exercise for this week, and see you guys in a short while.